Welcome everyone to our monthly podcast on spiritual discussions. On today's podcast, again we have His Grace Krishnarchan Prabhuji, who is a preacher in ISKCON, and he's been preaching in cities like Indore, Jabalpur, and he's been connected with ISKCON for around 25 years, and is also preached in countries like America and South Africa. So welcome Prabhuji to our podcast. We are grateful to have you. So without wasting any time, we'll start with the questions which are usually around in the minds of youth. So first question is, Prabhuji, what exactly is spirituality? Like is it some sort of ritual? Is it some puja? And what's the essence?
Okay. Thank you very much for this for inviting me for this program. Yeah, spirituality is not some sort of ritual, as people generally think. Spirituality is some kind of pujas or some kind of rituals. It's not like that. The essence of spirituality is to focus on what is permanent as opposed to what is temporary. Spirituality seeks what is forever, what lasts forever, and to focus on what gives eternal or permanent benefit rather than temporary benefit. Yeah, and going to the root of all things. Yes. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us that there are two things. One is spirit and the other is matter. Matter is temporary and it forms change, subject to change, whereas spirituality is eternal, changeless. So to focus on what is permanent, to focus on what is changeless, that is spirituality.
So in spirituality, again coming to the next question, in spirituality, Prabhuji, we see there are various forms of gods. So like, is it intolerance to worship some form of God and not other, like as usually seen in various organizations?
Yeah, very interesting question, because sometimes, if someone is not worshipping a certain form of God, it is seen that, they are seen as intolerant, or they are seen as, biased, which is not true. In India, we have various sampradayas or traditions. So, various traditions or sampradayas focus on various forms or aspects of God. And when they are focused on particular method of worship or particular form of God, it is not to be seen as disregard for other forms. Often people ask why in ISKCON devotees focus more on Krishna and not other forms of God. Is it like they don't respect other forms of God, or is it that they are just intolerant about other forms or methods of worship? It is not so. The philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, which we follow, actually teaches us that we should respect all forms of God or various energies of God, but we focus on a certain particular form of God because that is our Ishtadeva or our object of worship, right? So even in our Puranas, all the great devotees, they focused on one form of God. Like Hanuman only worships Ram, right? So similarly, Prahlad worshipped Narayan. So in this way, different devotees were focused on different forms of God. That is not intolerance to other forms of God. So in ISKCON, although we focus on Krishna, it is not that we do not respect other forms of God. And we always see that God has many forms, but we focus on Krishna because our tradition teaches us a certain type of devotion which is followed by Vrajvasis, especially by Radharani. So because we follow that tradition, therefore we focus on Krishna. That is not to say that we do not regard other forms of God.
Very nice explanation, Prabhuji, actually. So like you're talking about ISKCON, Prabhuji. So there are various rumors about ISKCON and various things have happened in the past. So what's your take on that? I won't mention any of them, but in general, what's your view?
Rumor mongering is one of the uh, traits of human behavior, and people like to jump to conclusions without actually, going to the real facts, or without bothering to get into the actual truth or the facts. So, yeah, there are rumors about everything. Practically, even Lord Krishna, people speak so many things about Lord Krishna and any great personality for that matter. Nobody is free from rumors. So, we do not believe in either hearing or spreading rumors, which is actually totally against the core principles of spirituality. So, therefore, we do not respond to such rumors. But if someone has any questions, then we will be open to answer them. But as a final note, I would like to say that, yes, every organization has its ups and downs, it has its strong points and maybe some points which need improvement, and ISKCON is no exception to that. But what I would like to urge people to focus on is the core philosophy, the core teachings of the society, which are based on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and our ancient scriptures, and through the tradition of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in this line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, the teachings are the most important thing. Like, everyone may not be able to perfectly follow those teachings, but our focus should be on the teachings and what ISKCON is trying to propagate, what is the message we are trying to propagate, but not on what someone said or someone did. People come and go, people change, but the teachings and the core principles don't change. So, that is what needs to be focused on, rather than some isolated person who might have said or done something. So that is what I would like to emphasize.
Apart from spiritual activities, there are so many social issues are there in the society. Like, there is crime, there is animal cruelty, there is so much work on education that can be done. Why not focus on these activities? And corruption, exactly. So why not focus on these activities apart from just spirituality?
Yeah, people often ask this question, why not do something for the society at the ground level, maybe do something for the poor, maybe work on anti-corruption, like drug addiction and so many other such issues. Yeah, so the thing is, all the problems in society, they have a root in our disconnection or disconnect with God, right? So, I remember once one minister Minister of Environment, in the US, met one of our Swamijis in ISKCON at an airport, and she asked our Swamiji that what are you doing for the environment? There is global warming and pollution and so many other things. What are you doing for that, right? So, he answered very practically that the pollution outside is actually a result of the pollution inside. Yeah. So, the pollution in the heart actually is responsible for the pollution outside. So, similarly, all the evils we see in society, whether it is corruption or whether it is cruelty or crime or whatever, the root cause of all this is actually forgetfulness of our original nature, spiritual nature, and our not being connected with the Supreme. So, spirituality goes to the root of all problems, and by solving that, by cleansing the heart of all the unwanted desires and wrong evil tendencies, then you become a clean and more pure person, and as a natural consequence of that, all the other evils are taken care of. Another thing is, problems are temporary. What is the problem today may not be the same problem tomorrow. Tomorrow you may have new problems. So, instead of focusing on the temporary problems, spirituality teaches us to focus on the eternal truth. And when you do that, it solves the temporary problems, as a side effect, and whatever those problems may be. Yeah, so today you may solve corruption, but again it may rise up again in a different form, right? Uh, Even if you do solve the practical problems of the society, that does not guarantee that there will be no other problems and everyone will be happy, right? So problems keep coming and going. So this material world is designed in such a way that there will always be problems. No matter how much you try to make it perfect, it never is perfect. So rather than trying to make this world perfect, uh, rather we focus on being ourselves perfect and connecting with the perfect reality, that is God and spirituality. So when you do that, naturally things become, you know, better and more tolerable and more peaceful in this material world.
So coming to next question, Prabhuji, there are a lot of apps on astrology, lot of like chatbots are there on Twitter, Instagram, which proclaims that they are giving astrological predictions. So how accurate actually is astrology, and should people really go for it and stop their work and focus on their like astrological charts?
Well, astrology according to Vedas is definitely a science, and how it works is, your past karma, comes back to you, either good karma or bad karma. It comes back to you through, it is given to you through the workings of various planets and various astrological phenomena. So these various demigods or the devatas or the graha devatas and the various forces of nature, what they do is they award your own karma back to you um, at a certain time, in a certain way. So they govern that. It is definitely a science. However, as I said, they can only reward what is your own karma. It is not that they are going to give you something which you don't deserve, right? Yes, so astrology is definitely a science, but it is not the absolute science, or it is not the supreme reality. Our scriptures, like especially Bhagavad Gita, they teach us to focus more on what is the eternal reality, rather than things like astrology and karma kanda, various rituals and all. Because at the end of the day, it is not your karma that actually liberates you, it is your spirituality, how you practice spirituality, how you cultivate spiritual knowledge and devotion. That is far more important than these whatever astrological predictions and all. So if something is bound to happen, it is going to happen anyway. So there is no point in spending our valuable time in trying to know what is your future, rather that energy can be focused on doing what is right, and focusing on what I can change rather than on what I cannot change. So yes, astrology, although it is a science, our scriptures do not recommend to focus too much on it. In fact, it is not even necessary, I would say, to even delve much into astrology, because after all it is only a science of how you get back your own karma. Rather, if a person focuses on gaining spiritual knowledge, cultivating good habits, making spiritual progress, then that would yield lasting benefits. And as they say, if you worship God, then all the devatas, all the planets, constellations, they all become favorable. Even a negative situation becomes positive. Even sometimes when there is difficulty in life, that can ultimately become a blessing, where you learn something from it, you gain something out of it, right? On the other hand, even a so-called good situation may make you lazy, may make you irresponsible. So what is good and what is bad is not really determined by how we immediately feel about it. What we think is bad may turn out to be good, and vice versa. So therefore, instead of worrying about what will happen in my life tomorrow, rather let us worry about what we should do today. What is the right thing to do? And that is what Gita teaches us.
Absolutely perfect explanation. Now, if like we had a very good questions, I think one of our friends would be interested to ask a follow-up questions regarding the same.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I had a question regarding reels and movies. As we are seeing nowadays, it is getting very popular amongst the youth that most of their time they waste in these things, reels and movies, and they are very interesting also to watch and to spend time with. And not just that, even the one who are practicing spirituality, can they watch these reels and movies, or they can have some fun? Is it allowed or not? And this is my question.
I generally travel quite a bit, for the sake of preaching and various programs, spiritual programs and all. So when I travel, I see people in trains, in buses, flights, everywhere. Wherever I go, most of the people around me nowadays, I'm sure you all also experienced, they are totally immersed in their mobile phones, right? They're watching reels or hearing some songs or watching movies or some shows, something. I always wonder, how much human, consciousness, energy is being drained by this kind of things. So how much time we spend, how much attention we give, how much focus we put, on this kind of things. So that is, absolutely, mind-boggling. So the thing is, our scriptures, our Vedic tradition teaches us to focus our consciousness and attention on what is eternal, what is of permanent value, rather than what is temporary, right? So as Chanakya Pandit says famously, a second lost, a second of time that is lost, cannot be gained by all the wealth of this world. So human energy, human consciousness, and especially our time is so valuable that we cannot afford to lose even a second of our time. And it is absolutely shocking, right, to see how much, not seconds, but we are wasting hours and hours of our time every day, in all these unnecessary activities. They are totally draining our consciousness, and also not only wasting our time, but filling our minds with so much garbage, and unnecessary memories, unnecessary, and it also reduces our creativity, our ability to think and analyze things. So therefore, don't watch reels. If you really want to gain some spiritual benefit, if you want to really gain information, read a good book or have a conversation with a wise person. That way you would gain much more, rather than wasting times on all these things. It is really a trap of this Kali Yuga. How everyone's consciousness is totally trapped in this, especially the youth. So this is something which we really need to protect ourselves from. So let's not waste, not only whether it is reels or movies, any type of media addiction, even news addiction for that matter. What is important for us is what we need to do in life more than what is happening around the world. Of course, we need to have some information. We should not be disconnected. I don't mean to say that we need to be disconnected from this world, but there's no need to be too much connected also. If we become too much connected, we become disconnected from our own self and from our own goals. It's rather better to be more connected with ourselves and our own goals, rather than being connected with the outside world. So yeah, any type of addiction, anything that wastes your time, anything that it may seem entertaining, but that entertainment comes at a huge cost. Polluting your consciousness, wasting your time, valuable time, and it's an addiction. So rather our time is better spent something more valuable, something more lasting.
Prabhuji, I have one more question. Nowadays, media has significant influence over youth. You generally made their perception on the basis of what is there in media only. So, how should we handle it? What should be our approach in this scenario?
Very practical and interesting question. That how media has a very powerful influence on the youth. Media, kind of brainwashes us into thinking that what is not acceptable, what is not correct, is quite normal, right? One simple example is when you go to any movie, at the beginning of the movie they say smoking and drinking is injurious to health, right? Yes. And practically in every movie, the main characters, the hero, the heroine, they are shown to be doing exactly those things, right? So, so that is hypocrisy at its height, and it is very common. So the point is that when something which is gravely sinful, something that is gravely very very unthinkable, something that is even unimaginable, unthinkable, which is the gravest of worst activities, they show it as very normal, right? And when you see that, what happens? Your mind thinks this is normal, and that is how the youth are brainwashed into thinking all these kind of things, like whether it is intoxication or having illicit affairs and any type of addictions, and these are all just normal. Gali dena, using foul language, fighting, these are just very normal things, cool things, So that is the thing. That's how media is having a very 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 negative influence. More often than not, on the young generation. So therefore, I would caution that let us not let the media dictate or tell us what is good for us, because they are not here to benefit us. They are there only to make their profits. Let's be very frank about it. Whether it's the movie industry or they're just there to make money. They're not here to enlighten us. That's not their job. They're not here to reform the society, although they claim to be so. That's not their job. That's not what they're here for. Everyone knows what they're here for. So let's not become influenced by those people. Rather, if you want to gain knowledge, you go to the spiritual people, those who work selflessly for the society, right? So yeah, we should be very careful not to let the media tell us what to do. Don't waste your time watching movies, watching reels, or in fact, I would say, what to speak of spending so much time, even a few seconds of some reel you might have watched a long time ago, still that is there in your mind, right? So even a few seconds, not minutes, not hours, even a few seconds of watching useless or irrelevant content on the social media or media in general, it can have a very profoundly disastrous effect on your mind. We rather focus on reading good books and literature, associating with good people, saintly people, and gaining wisdom in that way, and regulating our lifestyle. That would make you a much better, much stronger, individual, rather than when you get into this kind of media influence. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Roji. Roji, my question is, what is the problem with having relationship even Krishna had the relationship with the others in Vrindavan and gopis. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting question, commonly asked. What is the problem with having relationships? The problem is that we don't keep it sacred. Every relationship is supposed to be sacred. Sacred means pure, you know. But unfortunately, because of media influence and because of you know somehow the movies and the modern Western culture and all that, people don't take those relationships as sacred, pure, respectable. Sex becomes very casual, just for the sake of enjoyment, or even having a girlfriend or a boyfriend, just for the sake of fun, just for the sake of that's just cool. So we just take it very casually, rather than valuing that person or valuing that kind of relationships and sustaining it for your whole life. People are not just going to come together just to have some momentary fun. So that is just like, that's just exploitation of each other's bodies, exploitation of that particular relationship, just to gain momentary and temporary flickering satisfaction, pleasure out of that. So that means you are basically seeing the other person as an object of your enjoyment. You're just looking to exploit each other, right? So Vedic culture teaches us that relationships are very important and they are sacred. So they are not to be exploited, right? They are to be maintained in a responsible manner, right? Yeah. So sex also is supposed to be kept as sacred. It's not something bad. It is not something vulgar. So yes, that is also very spiritual, but you need to keep it spiritual, you need to keep it pure, you need to keep it sacred. So that is what Vedic culture or spirituality teaches us, not to just exploit these relationships. Modern influence say you can have multiple boyfriends, multiple girlfriends, change your girlfriend or boyfriend every other day or every few weeks or months, have a new boyfriend. That is the trend, that is cool, because that's what the movie actors do, right? So that is not the teaching of, you have a relationship definitely, but maintain it for your life. Respect that person, don't see that person as an object of your enjoyment, right? And do it at a certain age when you are mature enough to actually maintain that relationship for your life and to value that relationship. Until then, maintain some space from the opposite gender, so that you can focus on more on your own growth, your studies, your spirituality, and when you are ready to enter into that relationship, then enter in a very responsible manner. That is what spirituality teaches us. We are not against relationships. Yes, Krishna had many relationships, as you said, but Krishna's relationships are not frivolous, they are not vulgar, and those relationships were forever. Although Krishna left Vrindavan for 100 years, right? Still the Vrajvasis, they had great love and respect even after 100 years of separation, although those days there were no mobile phones, right? So that is the depth of relationship that Krishna had. So we can't imitate Krishna. So yeah, relationships are special, relationships are important, but they need to be maintained in a certain way. They need to be valued, they need to be kept as sacred and not taken cheaply.
So wonderful questions we had. So Prabhuji, currently the Kumbh Mela is the talk of the town for the country, or for the whole world. Everyone is coming there. So there are various Babajis, or to name a few, there is one IIT Baba who is getting very famous, and many youths are actually following his talks, his opinions. But we can generally see that some of his opinions or statements are not aligned with the various other saints or the scriptures in general. So what should be our take as youth? Should we directly follow them, or how should we go about it?
I don't know that particular person you're talking about. Yeah, but I know that there is a hype around what he says and all. So I, this kind of various personalities, pop up, become popular for some time, and people talk about them. But the question is not what someone is saying. We don't go by what some Baba is saying, or in India, in Vedic tradition, we don't have an identity separate from our traditions. When you talk something which is not supported by tradition, which is not supported by the scripture, then people don't take you seriously. That is what the Vedic culture teaches us. Therefore, any saint, they claim authenticity from their sampradaya, from the tradition which they belong to. Like say, I myself am in this Gaudiya sampradaya, Vaishnava sampradaya, right? So there are various sampradayas, or lineage of spiritual traditions. So you need to belong to certain tradition. You have a guru, and that guru also has his own guru, and in this way they belong to a age-old tradition. Not that you just come and say anything from your mind. That is not supported in Vedic scriptures. That may happen outside India, in the Western countries especially. Of course, everyone has the right to think and say what they want. That is granted, but that is not true in spirituality, at least in Vedic culture. If you are claiming to be a sadhu or a saint, especially in the Vedic tradition, you have to be loyal to any particular sampradaya, and you can't just say anything and everything. Whatever you're saying should be supported from the scriptures, from the shastras, and from the acharyas of the past, right? So we therefore there is this check and balance system of sadhu, shastra, and guru. Okay, so that is our teaching, the Vedic teaching, that whatever anyone says has to be checked. There is this check and balance system, 3-point check and balance system. If someone is saying something, check with Shastra, is it supported in the scriptures? Then second, is it supported by acharyas of the past? Great acharyas, teachers like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other great saints of the past, whether they spoke something like that. And third, gurus of the present, whether they are supporting this kind of views or not. So I honestly do not know the person you are talking about, but if whatever that person is saying is in line with these three, then you can accept it. But if it is not, then you know what to do.
Okay, so a follow-up question on this, Prabhuji. So a statement was made popular by the same person, and many other like spiritual people say this, that your parents, or for a spiritual seeker, your children, they're very ordinary. Like in your past lives also, you had your children, you had your parents, so you don't have to be very much attached to them. And they said it in a way which kind of disregards the duty we should have towards our parents or children or close family members. So how should a spiritual seeker, a beginner in the spiritual life, have attitude towards his immediate relatives or immediate well-wishers? Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is a very very sensitive question, because it needs to balance two principles which are apparently opposed to each other. They are not opposed to each other. One principle is that you need to be detached. That ultimately we are not this body. So any relationship which is connected to this body is temporary. So yes, we had many births in the past, and in each birth, every birth we had parents and relatives, and we don't know who they are. So these relationships are temporary. So yes, that is true. But on the other hand, there is the other principle also, where you need to be grateful, you need to be respectful, and obedient, and um, grateful to your parents for all the gifts that they have given to you. Like we have not only received our body, our birth from them, but also, this human body itself is a great blessing. Because we have this human body, we are able to do spiritual activities. We have a chance to do spiritual activities, and that is their gift. And also, so many other good samskaras we must have gained from our parents and family members and relatives. So, yes, we need to be grateful to them for all these things, and we also have a responsibility to serve them, to take care of them, and be respectful and obedient towards them. Yes, so both these principles need to be balanced. We tend to, take one principle and often neglect the other. Sometimes we see that people, in the name of spirituality, they become irresponsible. They consider themselves to be great saints and, become totally disregardful or, disrespectful towards their parents and towards their other relatives, and irresponsible towards their family. This is not the teaching of Vedic scriptures. On the other hand, there is other extreme where people become too attached to their families, too much, in illusion of this relationship, in the so-called responsibility towards them. Sometimes out of that they do not pursue spiritual activities because I want to please my family, right? So being too attached, on the other hand, is also not appropriate. On the other hand, becoming irresponsible and in the name of detachment we tend to become hateful or irresponsible. So both are not supported by the scriptures. Neither become irresponsible and hateful towards your family and parents, nor become too attached, so much so that you neglect to make spiritual progress and you become just caught up in your worldly activities and affairs. So we need to have a balance between the two, right? Be responsible, but at the same time have a clear goal of spirituality. So do your duties, take care of your family, be respectful towards your parents, be grateful to them, be affectionate to them. At the same time, do not be attached. Ultimately, our attachment is for God. Don't let those relationships become an obstacle on your spiritual progress. Yes, so that is the balance between these two.
So thank you, Prabhuji. So coming to next question, it's generally seen that many spiritual seekers in the beginning, when they get the spiritual happiness or the spiritual bliss, they kind of start avoiding the material pursuits or material activities which are actually necessary even to maintain the spiritual life. So in that situation, what should a spiritual seeker or a beginner do?
Yeah, it's a very common problem. People, are apprehensive of taking up spiritual life or spiritual activities because they think that if we get too much into that, then our studies, our job, career, family, relationships may get affected. I may not be able to achieve my goals. Nowadays, it's a very competitive world, right? You need to be at the top to really succeed or even to get a job nowadays, right? You need to really be at the top. I need to work extra hard, So therefore, we already have so many distractions. So why have another distraction in the form of spirituality, right? Let me first achieve my goals. Let me just get my degree and let me get my job or let me get my whatever. Or let me make this much money and get this much success, or get this relationship in place, and then maybe I will practice spirituality. That's what people tend to think. But the first thing to understand is that human life is very short. We do not know how long we're going to live here, right? So what if we die today or tomorrow? we'll be missing the chance, right? According to the scriptures, it is very rare to have a human birth, and once you lose it without practicing spirituality, there is a high risk that you may end up, in an animal birth in your next life, right? So, so we don't know how much time we have, right? We don't know how much time we have left in this life. So therefore, the most important purpose of life, we have many goals in life, we may have various goals in life, but what is the goal of life? That is why God has given us this life, why we have got this human life. Ultimately, it is for self-realization, according to the scriptures, according to the Gita. The purpose of human life is not to just earn money and have a good job or a good relationship and so forth, but actually realize yourself, which only the human being can do, right? So that has to be prioritized, but at the same time, without neglecting your other duties, without neglecting your career, without neglecting your whatever duties you have, whether it is studies or relationships or earning money or taking care of the family, whatever it may be. Do not neglect that. So that is the conclusion that Lord Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita to Arjun, where he says that, according to my opinion, Krishna says that you should work, do your duties, at the same time also remember God. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. That means at all times you remember me, but also fight. Do your duties. So he is not saying do one or the other. That is our dichotomy. Like we are caught up in this duality, thinking that either I practice spirituality nicely or I do my duties nicely. But whereas Gita's teaching is not like that. It says you do both nicely. You do both nicely. In fact, both are supposed to be complementary to each other. Your spirituality is supposed to make you more efficient and more responsible in your work, and your work is supposed to make you remember God, right? So these two are not opposed to each other. And if you choose one over the other, you will eventually end up giving up this thing and going to the other extreme. Sometimes you become too materialistic. We see people who become frustrated and say, okay, sab chhod ke bhag jao. And they go to the other extreme. Or they become so-called too spiritual and leave their, neglect their so-called material duties, and then they go to the other extreme, saying that I bahut bhakti kar li, aap chhod do. Ab pura bhakti chhod ke puri tarah se, like they are absorbed in their material activities. So the pendulum shifts from one end to the other. So we kind of shift from extreme materialism to extreme spiritualism, but that is our mind actually in action, our materialistic conditioned mind. But whereas our scriptures teach us, don't go to either extreme. In fact, balance both, do both in a very responsible and balanced manner. Then you'll have wholesome growth and you'll become a perfect human being.
A follow-up question to this, Prabhuji. Actually, we have like common scriptures, but it's generally seen that there are various organizations and everyone is claiming that their path is the best. So in the midst of so many opinions, so many people claiming to be of certain lineage, which path should we follow and how should we get towards the right path?
Okay. Yeah, very commonly asked question. Which path to choose? Everyone claims that our path is the best. Like every company claims that our product is the best. You take our product, and they are advertising their product. Same thing we see even in spiritual life, spiritual field. Every organization or guru or whatever, they say that this is the best thing to follow. A similar question was asked to Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, by the Beatles. You heard the Beatles? They are the They were the top music band in the 70s, and they were like world famous. So when they met Srila Prabhupada, they asked exactly the same question. So Prabhupada had a very simple answer, right? He said, you see who is most addicted to God, because spirituality is all about knowing God and to love God, right? So you see who is most addicted to God. Whoever loves God the most, whoever uh, reads and hears and propagates the message given by God the most, right? That is a simple litmus test of who is more spiritually advanced, right? So Prabhupada said that you can see that our 24 hours a day, we are either chanting the name of God, or we are discussing Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, or from any of the scriptures. We are talking about God, we are preaching about God, we are serving God. So you see who is most addicted to God, who is loving God to a deep or great extent, right? So and how much they are willing to sacrifice for God. That's the other part of it. Everyone claims to be a great lover of God, but what are you willing to take up and what are you willing to give up for the sake of God? And how much you are willing to take up and how much you are willing to give up for the sake of God. It's very clear. How much you are willing to give up your bad habits, how much you are willing to change your lifestyle. People who sleep late night at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and wake up at 9 or 10, that is nowadays the trend. When you come to ISKCON, you sleep early and wake up early around 4 o'clock in the morning. And when you come to ISKCON, you give up your habits like intoxication, having illicit affairs, eating, karma-free diet, and giving up all bad habits like gambling, watching movies, and this kind of stuff. So how much you are willing to give up for God, and how much time you are willing to spend for chanting His names and for reading Gita and this kind of books. So it's a complete shift in your lifestyle and how your habits are changing more than anything else. How you are becoming more self-controlled, your mind is more controlled, more peaceful, you become less angry, less agitated, how you are more humble, and how your whole behavior and attitude in life totally changes. So you see these things. And also, one last but not the least, are you stuck with just the rituals? There are many paths which just teach you the rituals. Do this mudra, do this puja, do that, tantra, do this yantra, and all that. And external superficial rituals, rather than the essence, rather than focusing on the essence, that is devotion, that is love, compassion, humility. So is it these qualities that are being emphasized or just some external rituals and stuff? So these are all the criteria.
So very nice parameters Prabhuji have given us to identify what is right, what is wrong. Now coming to another question Prabhuji, generally in spiritual organizations or in general it's recommended to have segregation of genders. So what significance does it have to segregate the genders, because essentially we are all just souls, so why just segregate them?
Good question. Just so that we don't become irresponsible. It is not that man and woman or boys and girls are supposed to hate each other, because hate and love are actually two sides of the same coin, right? Attraction and repulsion, right? They are both two sides of the same coin. So what happens is either you become too attracted, because there is a natural attraction between male and female. Not only physical, but even psychological, right? Emotional. That is very natural, and that is inbuilt in the system of every living species. So that natural attraction is there, and that natural attraction can potentially become a distraction and make you lose your focus on your goal of life and your various pursuits. Therefore, the student life is supposed to be brahmachari life. Student means brahmachari and celibate. It is not that you have so many boyfriends or girlfriends and you do everything under the sun and you are a student. That is not the Vedic idea of student life. So therefore, yes, to avoid those distractions and to keep your mind pure and focused, this segregation is, and in fact that is necessary even for older people, like those who are married, because even after marriage, I know we have seen many people do get distracted. Even though you may have a good wife or husband at home, still Maya is very powerful, you can get distracted. So therefore, that segregation keeps your mind pure, keeps the culture pure, right? And even between wife and husband, it's perfect to have love, it's perfect to have exchanges, loving exchanges between them, but they are not to be publicly portrayed, right? Yeah. So nowadays what the media is doing is, it is making us think that love means to be shameless. So I love her, I love him, and we'll do everything in public, right? That is the so-called movie culture, Bollywood culture. So I love her, so what's wrong? There's nothing wrong, sir. But you don't have to advertise or show it in public and agitate the minds of others. So there is some decency, some modesty. Lust is shameless, and also shamelessness is a symptom of lust. But love is modest, love is respectful, love is shy, and responsible. So real love does not promote shamelessness, as it is seen. Everything happens in public. Previously, just even a generation ago, even a decade or a couple of decades ago, it was people had this modesty. You can't just do anything in public. When you meet a person of the opposite gender, the people were having that kind of modesty, that respect, that sensitivity. It's lost now. So we need to revive that. So therefore, it's very important to have this segregation, to have this focus of mind, purity of mind. And when you are ready and when it is time to get into a relationship, then you do so in a very responsible manner, get married, and then take that responsibility. And also after that also, don't become like too much obsessed with it. That is just an aspect of life. That's not the ultimate thing in life.
Next question, Proji, that I have is, usually apart from the spiritual speakers, we have very knowledgeable experts on various subjects and like motivational speakers who are not very spiritual. So is it wrong to take opinions from them, to take guidance from them, who are not very God conscious or very spiritual, but who are just giving ethical and good knowledge?
Yeah, so every ethics, every good quality has its root in spirituality, right? You can't be good without God. You can't be good without being godly. So therefore, just talking about ethics and ethics. Why should we follow ethics? As long as I get what I want. Ultimately, that question comes. If I am able to achieve what I want to do in life in a wrong way, why not do it? Ultimately, the answer, the real satisfactory answer can only come when you accept the law of karma, and that there is a God who is seeing what you are doing and you are getting rewarded or punished for that. So yes, ethics and morals cannot sustain without a strong foundation of spirituality and God consciousness. And on the other hand, when you are spiritual and God conscious, then all the ethics automatically are, they are like taken care of. People become ethical naturally, because if you don't do so, then God is not pleased with you. Then you will not be able to achieve the goal of life like that. So, as it says in the Bhagavatam, यस्यास्ति भक्तिर भगवत्य किंचना सर्वैर गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुराः हराव अभक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा. It says that one who is a devotee of God, all the good qualities will gradually and naturally develop in that person. On the other hand, if you are not a devotee of God, even if you may have many good ethics and morals and good qualities, they don't last. It's just situational. And when you see that there is a benefit by giving up those morals and ethics, why should you hesitate to do so? Right? I can give up at any moment, and I don't have a reason to stick to any ethics unless there is a God. As soon as I see a benefit, I'll just change. Right? So a spiritual foundation is essential to be really good in life.
I think we had a very good conversation. I think some of our friends might have a few questions which they might want to ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So this is really going interesting, and I wanted to ask a question regarding relationships. As we see, this is known as age of Kali, as I have heard. I don't know how much it's true. So they say कलह, थोड़ी थोड़ी बातों पे लड़ाई झगड़े हो जाते हैं. They fight, people start fighting, and the major cause behind that fighting is misunderstanding. People misunderstand each other. They don't try to go into the depth of why that person did such thing, or even though it may be right, they take it wrong. So how that person should behave who is being misunderstood by someone else?
Okay. Yeah, misunderstanding is of two types. One that is incidental. Incidental in the sense, maybe you got some wrong information, maybe certain you just saw things in a certain way by accident, where there is no intention or hatred towards the other person, or intention to assume something wrong. So that is incidental misunderstanding, and that can be clarified. If someone is misunderstanding you, you can go to that person and say, my dear so and so, this is the fact, maybe you got it wrong. And the incidental misunderstanding can be solved by this kind of clarification to a great extent. And if you are really wrong, you can say, yes, you can admit, yes, I was wrong, and the misunderstanding can easily be solved. But the other type of misunderstanding, that is where you have some sort of negative attitudes towards that person, which causes you to believe or to want to believe that that person is not good. Whatever he does appears to be bad. That's the psychology. Like when you want to believe that someone is bad, or you want to hate that person, then you will have reasons to do so. You will find reasons to do so. So that's the other type of misunderstanding, which is born out of hatred or dislike, whatever you call it. That kind of misunderstanding, when it is there, then the best solution is not to clarify, not to seek to clarify or to argue with that person, but just let them have their time, or let them believe what they want to believe, to give them their freedom, to let them believe and think and say whatever they want to, and maintain some distance from that person, stay a little far from that person, because negativity is very powerful, and we can definitely become affected by that negativity. And so at the same time, without forcing them to change their opinion, let them have their opinion, let them do what they want to do, think what they want to think, or say what they want to say, because they are not going to change. The more you try to clarify, when there is hatred, the more it aggravates. That person becomes all the more negative. The more you try to explain, or the more you try to justify your actions or give some explanations, it simply aggravates. So therefore, Rupa Goswami, one of our acharyas, says that Dvishatsu upeksha. That means someone who has hatred, the only solution is just stay away from that person. And because when you stay away from that person, you are giving less fuel to their hatred, because they don't have any more reason to fight with you or argue with you or hate you, because you are not in the picture anymore, right? You are out of their life, right? So when the fuel is stopped, gradually that hatred also will come down, because the more you talk to that person, the hatred is increasing. So you just stay away from that person, then there is less reason for them to hate you. And then gradually, when the fuel is stopped, then the fire also goes down. So after some time, there is no more food, there is no more reason for them to hate you. And when that hatred goes down, then they will start introspecting. Maybe I was wrong in thinking about this person, in my thoughts about this person. Then when they realize that yes, I was the one who was hating, then they will come to the positive side, where they will start being remorseful for their wrong attitude, and also appreciative of your tolerance, that when they were hateful, you did not react. When they were hateful, you did not try to justify yourself, and you respected their desire to, or their whatever, their attitude. You did not protest, you did not fight, and you were respectful, and you gave them their space. So for that, they will start appreciating you, and then they will gradually come to the positive side. So therefore, anyone who hates, anyone who has a willful misunderstanding, that they want to misunderstand you, so just maintain distance from such a person. And don't waste your time and energy trying to justify yourself, trying to prove yourself. That helps you develop your humility, saves your time, and lets you focus on what is really positive and important in life. Okay?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a clarifying and practical insight till now. My other question is related to addictions. How to overcome addictions? Because nowadays, when people are addicted to social medias and intoxication and other things, and we know that this is bad, and we want to overcome, but we are unable to. So how we can you suggest something?
Good question. When you fall, you need strength to rise, to get up, right? When you are weak, what you need is strength. Isn't that obvious? Right? So addictions are a weakness. It's the weakness of your mind, that you are unable to give up certain things, right? Your mind is too weak to give up its desire and attachment for certain things, right? So what you need is strength, spiritual strength. When you are poor, what do you need is money, right? So it's just like that. And when it comes to your bad habits or addictions, they are that means you are spiritually poor, mentally poor, that you are unable to give up your weaknesses. You know, you are not strong enough, you are weak. So what you need is simple: strength, wealth, spiritual strength. When you have sufficient money, you don't worry about how I'm going to get my next meal, right? You have enough money, you don't have to worry about the basic necessities of life. So similarly, when you're spiritually strong, you don't worry about how to overcome addictions. It's a sign of poverty, spiritual poverty. So what you need is to develop spiritual wealth, develop spiritual strength. So you should have opulence. That means you should have enough strength not only to overcome your addictions, but to do something very good and positive in life, right? So when you have riches, you can't be poor, right? When you are so strong that you can run a marathon, then you don't worry about how I'm going to do my day-to-day work, right? So instead of just focusing on how to overcome my addictions, rather focus on how to become spiritually rich and powerful. So that's where sadhana or spiritual practice comes into the picture. When you are spiritually strong, and as a natural consequence, you don't become affected by these addictions. So that is where sadhana or spiritual practice comes into the picture. Sadhana means, a regular focus on some spiritual practice. Like in our tradition, we chant the names of God, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So when we chant this mantra, when we chant the names of God, when we read books like Srila Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, right? When we associate with saintly persons and hear from them, what we are basically doing is sadhana. We are getting spiritual strength. When you are weak, you need to eat. You need to have good nutrition to gain that strength, right? So similarly, our sadhana is our spiritual protein. So body needs protein, right, for strength. So similarly, our sadhana is our spiritual protein. And when you do this on a regular basis, with focus, with depth, with intensity, then what happens is you gain that strength when you do it on a regular basis. Then as a natural consequence, you are able to overcome those addictions. So mainly 3 things: chant the names of God, read spiritual books and literatures, and associate with spiritual people. These are the 3 positive things to do, and avoid negative association which weakens you. So by doing this regularly, you gain that strength.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is it practically possible to practice spirituality? Because as we see in general, there is a vulgarity and negativity around us and people use slang words. So is it really possible to make our mind free from all those things and focus on spirituality?
Very good question. As it said in the Bible, seek and you shall find. So even in the desert, there is oasis. Right? Desert has no water generally, but there is spots within the desert where there is water. So similarly, even in this negative world, filled with negativity around us, but in that negative world also, for those who are sincere, there is the association of devotees and saintly people available, right? Even in this ghor Kali, in this dark age of Kali, still there are practically everywhere. There are places where there are devotees, they practice pure life, you get good association. I remember hearing about Amsterdam. Amsterdam is in Europe, and it's a city where many things which are illegal in other parts of the world are legal in Amsterdam. Many things which are unmentionable, and especially prostitution and many such things. So when you go in that main street of Amsterdam, it's full of so much negative distractions around, prostitute houses and whatnot, all sorts of things on both sides of the street. And you go in the same street, in one corner there is ISKCON temple, and you enter, and immediately you are in the spiritual world with such beautiful deities and incense, and everything is so pure, devotees perfectly following all these things, spiritual activities and spiritual life. So like even in the midst of such a negative place, for those who seek it, there is a facility for being positive. So that is the special benefit of this age of Kali Yuga. Although it is full of faults, there is still in every place practically, not only in Amsterdam, but in every part of the world, practically there are temples like ISKCON temples where you have this possibility of getting good association and good environment and support to lead a very pure and spiritual life. So yes, if you are sincere, God will provide. Where there is a will, God shows the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for answering so beautifully with our queries. Another question is, so many world leaders, Prabhuji, very renowned world leaders, they are recommending 90 hours of work a week, and they are saying that for India to become materially or to progress economically, this kind of heavyweight work is needed. But especially when it comes to India, a place which is so spiritually renowned, where we have so many saints, what should be the take of Indians on this, and what is the take of Vedic literature on such opinions of 90 hours a week?
Well, whoever says that 90 hours a week or whatever, he is definitely saying that from one angle of vision, maybe just work and material output, and maybe just for the benefit of his company or whatever. But actually, if you see for overall human growth, so the growth of our society in general, not only economic growth, but there are other aspects, like of a good society, where being a good human being, being a happy human being. There are many other aspects of life. So everything needs to be balanced. Human life is not meant to slog like asses, right? Human body and mind is designed to work, but within limits. Yes. So therefore, there is a need for some degree of entertainment, some amount of entertainment, and just having a relaxed and cool life, having enough rest also. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Yuktahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu. That means your endeavor, your work should also be moderate, and similarly your entertainment also should be moderate. If you overdo something, you actually what you are actually doing is you are cutting down on the quality of your output. You may work too much or more than the optimum amount of time, but by doing so, your efficiency goes down, right? And your creativity and your ability to do good quality work definitely goes down. So therefore, yes, we should work, we should not be lazy, but at the same time, we should not overwork either. So that is what the Gita teaches us. And yes, entertainment is necessary, and that entertainment, by the way, doesn't have to be watching movies. That's a very, very harmful and kind of unhealthy type of entertainment. Rather, we can have spiritually nourishing entertainment, nourishing and enriching type of entertainment. That is our Vedic culture. Our entertainment was bhajan, kirtan, or drama, drama based on, of course, scriptures and like that. So, in olden days, people used to, in the evenings, they would just sit and sing some bhajans, or they would have some Ramayana or Mahabharata or Bhagavad, some shows, some dramas, some kathas. That was the entertainment. That was entertaining and enlightening at the same time, right? Enriching, not just putting garbage in your mind and calling it enjoyment. Any real enjoyment is always healthy. That is to be noted. That which is unhealthy cannot be really entertaining. Even if it may appear to be entertaining, but it's only titillating, not entertaining, but titillating your mind and senses, right? But entertainment, real entertainment, is entertaining not only your mind, your senses, but also your heart and your soul and your intelligence. So that is wholesome entertainment. And Vedic culture teaches us to have that wholesome entertainment, not just titillating your mind and senses in the name of entertainment and losing your health, losing your consciousness and your conscience just for a few moments of pleasure.
Yes, Prabhuji. Very nice term you have given us, wholesome entertainment. So coming to next question, it's related to IT life, Prabhuji. We have usually seen that in corporate world, you need to be ruthless, you need to be, have those greed, politics and all those vices. All these vices are usually considered virtues in the corporate world to grow. So for a person like who is a spiritual seeker and who is very kind-hearted, to him to sustain in the corporate world, it's little difficult, and there are chances of him getting exploited and getting crashed or crumbled down by these seniors. So how should such a person, make a bread for his family and at the same time sustain in the corporate world?
You need to be aware. You need to be aware, but at the same time, you don't have to, become part of something that is negative. There is politics, for example, in the corporate world. You need to be aware of what's going on, but you don't have to be part of that politics, right? So you need to be aware so as to navigate and not become affected by what is happening, right? You need to know how to, like when there is wind, and you have a lamp, you need to know how to protect that lamp from the wind, right? So you need to know which way the wind is blowing, or if you are on a boat, with a sail. So you need to know which way the wind is blowing so as to navigate your boat through that wind, through that storm, right? So you need to know what's happening around you just so as to navigate yourself, but you don't have to become part of that or let that affect you. So yes, there is greed, but you don't have to be greedy. There is envy, there is competition, there is lust, exploitation, so many things. You should know what's going on around you, but you don't have to become part of it. And be in this world but not of this world. For that you need to have a strong foundation and basis on spirituality. Then that actually gives you kind of the, you are vaccinated from the virus of this negativity around you. So you need to take your daily vaccine, daily dose of vaccine, and so that you remain immune, right? And that vaccine not only to be taken on a daily basis. I was just hearing a very nice quotation from one of our spiritual leaders, His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. He was saying that how one should take 1 month a year and 1 day a week and 1 hour a day to cut off, to disconnect from the world around you and to connect with God. But when you do so, you are able to reconnect with the world in a more positive way, in a more efficient manner, right? So disconnect to connect. That was a very nice, interesting statement. So when you do that, when you take time off, to associate with spiritual people, have sadhana and like that, then what happens is you are able to deal with all that negativity and intelligently do not hurt others. At the same time, don't be hurt by others. Do not agitate others. At the same time, don't let others agitate you. Do not be afraid of others. At the same time, don't cause fear in others. So that is a devotee. He knows politics, he knows how politics works, but he himself doesn't become part of it. Like that. So that should be our.
Finally, Prabhuji, what's your message to the youth in general? What would you like to address them to deal with their lives, with the problems which they are facing in life, with the spirituality?
Okay, very important question. The list of problems is endless. The list of needs is also endless in modern society. You want to become more tolerant, you want to become more peaceful, you want to become more resilient, more forgiving, more kind, more compassionate, avoid cruelty to animals, you want to become less stressed, and you want to develop any of these good qualities. You want less corruption in society, you want more ethics and values, you want to reduce pollution, right? You want to clean up the political atmosphere in the society, you want religious freedom, you want religious tolerance, you want to have a very eco-friendly life, nature-friendly life. Any of the problems in society, the one-stop solution to all these problems is become spiritual, God conscious. No God, no peace. And no God, no peace. So that is the ultimate message I would like to give. Any problem, you name it, any need, anything you want to achieve, name it. Ultimately, spirituality is at the foundation, at the root of every problem and every need in society can be addressed by that. So therefore, and a society which does not focus on spirituality, and if you focus on other solutions besides spirituality, so someone may ask, why instead of spirituality are there no other solutions to the problems in life? Yes, there may be other solutions, but only they will end up giving bigger problems because you did not focus on the root problem, right? The solutions to the problems become bigger problems themselves. According to our scriptures in Bhagavatam, it is said, Dukkhaushadam tadapi dukkham atadhyaham. That means the solutions you try to find for the problems in life will become a bigger source of bigger problems at the individual level or at the society level, unless and until you come to the point of God consciousness and spirituality. So therefore, that is my ultimate message to the youth in general. Yes, you do find other solutions, but the ultimate solution is in God consciousness. So please practice spirituality and be proud of being Indian, being Bharatiya, and of your profound spiritual traditions, and apply that wisdom, and don't just get carried away by this media influence or Western culture, but be deeply rooted in your spirituality, practice spirituality profoundly. As Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bharata bhumite manushya janma hoilo jar, Janma sarthaka kori koro para upakar. He says that anyone who has taken birth in the holy land of Bharata Bhumi, make your life perfect and also benefit others. So, before you benefit others, of course, you should be in a position to teach or help others. So, therefore, your life is very sacred, very valuable. Your time is valuable. So, let us not just squander it under the influence of the media and modern civilization, but rather let us bring spirituality in our focus, into our lives, and that way bring great value into our own lives and also in the lives of all those people whom we are connected with. To do this effectively, the most important thing that we need is association of saintly devotees of God. No man is an island. We are all social animals. So, therefore, it is very essential to find the right association. And if you really seek it, you will find it. Seek and you shall find. So, even in this world full of negativity around us, if you really seek the association of good people, you will definitely find it. So, associate with saintly devotees, go to your nearest ISKCON temple or center, attend the weekly programs and sessions, learn how to chant the name of God, and in that way increase your spiritual protein, spiritual strength. Read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Attend the lectures and seminars that are being conducted on spirituality. I am sure wherever you are in this world, you will find some center, some place where nearby where you can actually get this wisdom. So, these are the initial steps which you can take, and it will definitely help you go a long way in your spiritual quest. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. And with this, I think we can end the podcast. We hope to see you soon in another series of question and answers. Till then, keep watching us. Thank you so much, Proji, for coming on the podcast and giving your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.